like for a soldier in the trenches during World War I?
It very much depends where the soldier was at the time, which sector of the line, what year that was, what time of year it was, and of course what operations were going on at the time. A common misconception is that soldiers spent all their time in the trenches. They didn't. Carrington, most famously an officer with the Royal Warwickshire Regiment, wrote down from his diary records that in 1916, year of the Somme, he spent only 65 days in the front line, and less than 200 days total actually in the trenches themselves. So, to say, you know, what was a typical experience like is a little difficult to say. There's a certain commonality of experience, but it very much depends on the time, on the period of war, and where they actually were at the time.
What would have been the daily routine on the front line for a general soldier during World War I?
Soldiers would have been roused just before dawn, what was called Stand 2, where they'd all man the parapet, ready in case the enemy attacked. That would last until first light. Once it was clear that the enemy weren't planning to attack at dawn, some of the men would be stood down for things like breakfast, for washing, for shaving. Obviously some of them would have to stand in sentry duty. They'd take it in turns during the day to do sentry duty. There would be the general cleaning of weapons, there would be repair of the trench, possibly inspection of feet for trench foot, waiting for rations to be brought up. The day actually passed fairly quietly. There would probably be what was called the morning 8, when both sides would bombard each other's trenches for a bit. But depending again on where you were in the line, the intensity and length of that varied. For most of the soldiers, the biggest problem during the day was boredom. Apart from being on sentry duty, they spent most of the time asleep, writing, trying to fix their own uniforms. It was at night time when the front became alive, because of course that was the only time you get out of your trench and do work on, for example, barbed wire in front of your trench, or patrolling forward to see what the enemy were doing. So, you know, fairly quiet during the day, very active at night.
Were there any differences in how the officers lived compared to the other ranks in the trenches?
The main difference was the officers probably would have had use of a dugout as a platoon or company headquarters. They would also have that place to sleep in, so they were more likely to sleep in a bed every night than the soldiers. They also got more food sent out to them from their relatives at home, so their diet tended to be a little bit more varied. They also got a little bit more generous allocation of leave. They got leave more regularly than the actual soldiers, especially home leave. On the other hand, in return, they were expected to lead by example. So the chances of a young officer being killed compared to your average soldier was actually much higher. So they may have had a slightly more comfortable life in some respects, but they paid for it in others.